The one place that you want to go to sort of check this is Google AdWords keyword tool. So if you want to find this keyword tool, go to Google's homepage and type the word keyword, and the first result will be the Google keyword tool. Now the Google keyword tool is really made for Google's AdWords folks, people that are buying cost per click. But it's got a wealth of information in terms of the number of searches that are occurring on Google. And Google right now, as we showed in that previous slide, has the most traffic. But realistically, the types of searches that are happening on Google are going to be the same sort of searches that are happening on Bing. There's no real difference between those audiences because they're both very large and vast. So go to the Google AdWords tool and put in a couple phrases in there, and you can start seeing some results as to the number of searches. So here I put in the words lawyer and attorney, and it's very generic terms. I do have some limitations here in terms of what I'm looking at, in terms of my local, in terms of how I want to focus on these local results. And that is I picked the United States and English as the language. Now, if I wanted to check Spanish, I could certainly do the U.S. in Spanish if I was, had a Spanish site. I could, if I was in Mexico or I was in Canada, I could certainly, change those terms as well. And here's where the results come through. So here's the number of, here's the list of keywords that relate to lawyer and attorney, with lawyer and attorney being first. And this competition is sort of the cost per click competition, not important necessarily for organic stuff, probably important if you're buying the words. And here's the number of searches right here. So global searches, that's throughout the world in any language. And that's of interest, but I want to focus a little bit more on the U.S. side. And so while it says local monthly searches, it's local as to these options that I chose up here. So this is local as to being in the United States in English. But these are the key number of searches that we're looking at. And here I see the word attorney is actually searched on more than the word lawyer. So I'm seeing 13 million searches a month, or over 13 million in Google, and just slightly over 7 million or 7.5 million for the word lawyer. Now that said, if you're to really sort of dig in there and you really spend some time with this tool, you'll find that the word attorney also includes things like attorney general, district attorney, a bunch of different searches that don't necessarily lead to the type of results you might want if you're a personal injury lawyer. So you really need to play with the different terms that you're looking at. But you'll want to spend a lot of time on this, put a lot of different terms in. It also will give you suggestions, and as you can see, here's some other ones. Looks like an individual lawyer got in the mix here, but here's like DUI attorneys Tampa. Some of these suggestions are based, all these suggestions are somewhat based on the number of searches that are happening within Google. As you look through some of these, you'll realize that some of these are probably canned searches of people checking for their position. But the main thing is Google tries to fix that as much as possible because this is really the numbers they're giving out to their AdWords users. So they're trying to protect against some of this search spam, as they call it. Now here's, again, lawyer and attorney that was, sort of the two words right there with the different searches. And that's somewhat interesting. Probably more interesting are particular terms. So like here's car accident versus auto accident. And if you look through web pages, that different lawyers put up, you'll see a lot of them have like an auto accident page. But yet when you look through searches, the word car accident is actually searched on 3 times more than the word auto accident, which is somewhat interesting. But if you did insurance, car insurance and auto insurance, they're searched about, 2.7 versus 2.2, around the same amount of times. So, what does this mean? The basic thing here is that if you spend time with Google and you're writing particular pages for your different practice areas, you might want to spend a little bit of time, you will want to spend a little bit of time sort of looking through the Google keyword tool and just seeing, are you picking the best terms you can? Because if you can spend an extra 5 or 10 minutes on a particular page, changing auto accident to car accident, you might actually find out that you get, quite a bit more in terms of bang for your buck, in terms of your time cost of writing the articles. Another thing with Google is they have a site called Google Trends. Now, Google Trends is interesting, and if you use Google Trends with the Google AdWords tool, you can sort of find out what these sort of ratios are here. But it's giving ratios of searches along with some sort of media stories that might relate to why the reasons the searches are occurring. And so here's the word lawyer, and here's the word attorney. So we could go back to the previous AdWords page. We could actually get an idea of what these, what the sort of this y-axis is in terms of the number of searches. And that's somewhat interesting. Well, lawyer and attorney's not going to change too much. But here's an example of one that did sort of jump up, and this is Hydroxycut. So I don't know if folks remember this, but there was this weight loss product that was like in all the bodybuilding magazines and all the health magazines that would sort of help you lose weight. It could also cause some medical complications, which were not good, and we got pulled from the market, and obviously there's quite a bit of litigation going on there. This is right here. It's when the FDA said dieters should stop using Hydroxycut. That's that A. Look at, you can sort of see the number of searches jumping up, and then the searches continue, but not quite at the level that they used to. When you're setting up pages for particular event types of occurrences, let's say like the BP oil spill, or let's say there's some new hip replacement device that's like been recalled. You can use Google Trends to get an idea as to are people searching these terms, and are these terms sort of jumping out based on the news that's occurring. And so it's a good thing to use. I've used it in conjunction with the Google AdWords tool, but if I was looking at certain event-related types of pages to write about, I would certainly take a look at this, and I might look at it over time to see whether this is still an important page that I should be focused on. Especially important for people that are doing product recall or certain types of drug liability cases. All right, so I want to come back and just spend just a couple more seconds here. This is what you need to spend your time on. This is the most important thing. I think that, and this is something which the lawyers themselves should be thinking about, not just handing it off necessarily to your optimization folks. So you certainly can hand off to us, but you should always look at yourself regardless. Look at what the words are that are important to the practice, your locations, your practice words, and obviously you want to mix in the words lawyer and attorney, and use those words within your content. If you do that, you're going to be 80–90% of the way there. The rest of the stuff I'm going to talk about a bit is, how you have to tag some of the different pages and different website setups. But most of the folks are pretty good at that, and that's something which tends to work well for everybody. But the one thing that the lawyers, really need to be focused on is writing out this content and using the core keywords. All right, let me sort of walk through websites a bit. I'll do websites and blogs, and I'll explain. They're both sort of the same thing to a certain extent from Google, but there are some differences, certainly beyond just the layout. With websites, the first thing to sort of know, this is just an overall site checklist, and obviously you can go, I can give you like 50 items here, but these are sort of some of the main ones. The first thing is to make sure that you have text on your homepage, and remove a lot of the extra graphics or extensive flash if you have it there. And this is for a few reasons. The main reason is that Google and Bing place a lot of emphasis on your homepage in terms of the page that's going to rank the highest. And that's mainly because that tends to be the page that has the most links coming into it from external websites. So, like if you're in the NOLO directory, they'll tend to link to your homepage. And you're in Justia, we're linking to your homepage. Same thing with Martindale or Lawyers.com or many of the others that are out there. So your homepage tends to get a lot more links, which tends to make it the highest ranked page within Google for your site. If you have a big flash jump page or you have a big graphic there and with no text, well, you might have lots of links into that homepage, but if there's no text there, you're not going to rank well. You really need to make sure that you have text on that homepage. And I know sometimes people want to keep their homepages very, very clean, but they really should spend a little bit of time of trying to get some text there. You can use Flash. You can use images. That's fine. Flash isn't going to kill you. It's just going to kill you if you don't have text there. So you want to make sure that you have some text. The other sort of big thing here that you want to do is make sure that you have some sort of sitemap page or some page on your website that lists and links to all the pages on your site. And that is so that Google can come in and index it. You can do some additional things with Webmaster Tools on Google's side and send them an XML, sitemap. Certainly those are things that can work. But for most lawyers, they don't have thousands of pages on their site. They might have, 100 or so, maybe a couple hundred. For those, these sitemap pages always work. Just make sure that you have that there to make sure your pages are getting indexed. It also protects you in case your XML sitemap for some reason isn't working and you have some error in it. And those are harder to see. It's very easy to see a sitemap page. Some of the other items, having keywords and URLs and file names, that's always good. having pages that are easy to crawl. You're not necessarily using JavaScript for all your navigation, for all your links. That can be helpful in terms of how Google sees your site. And having constant file names for each page, not having different section variables showing up. That's all helpful. The big things are the homepage text and having a page that links to all your pages. Those are the two big things here for your site. Here's an example web page. I just want to sort of go into a little bit of details of an individual page itself. Again, this home page has a lot of text on it. Lots of different keywords, very keyword rich. This is what the page looks like to Google. So Google comes in, they see this page as a lot of good text. If this page had been with all flash, it might have had a tenth of the amount of text on the page, which would have mainly been tags. Of the different places that you have text on your page, the most important one is the title text. So this is in the title tag, and it's up in the header part. And let me go back to this page here. The title text is actually the thing that you see way up here at the top of the browser when you bookmark something. It's not technically on the page down here. It's way up here at the top. So these words here that are in this title tag, let me actually go back here. I think I can find it in here. Right here. You can sort of see it here within the text here at the very top of the HTML. This title tag, these words from a Google standpoint are the most important. So especially the beginning ones. So you want to make sure that you have good keywords in these beginning phrases on your title tags. If you just put your firm name up, or you have the same title tag for every single page, you're sort of missing out big time with Google at least. Try to use the keywords. Personally, unless there's a real reason to do it from a branding standpoint, I would use, the locality, practice area, lawyer, attorney as my initial keywords on my different pages, and then maybe have the page name or then have the name of the firm. So I would try to, keep it focused on, words that are, obviously relate to the content of the page, but do that a bit more than necessarily having the firm name, which you'll always tend to rank well for. And I might use a couple of varieties, try to get a few different terms up there. I wouldn't make it super long, but the main thing here with Google is that the beginning words are going to count a lot more than the later words. So you really want to focus on the first couple terms. As far as the length of the title tags, probably the one thing to remember is that within the Google search results, they're only going to show, say, the first, I forget, 60, 65 characters. It doesn't mean these other words don't get counted in terms of some weight from Google, but they certainly get counted less, and you won't necessarily see that word within the search results. But the big thing here is really the first few terms on each page. Also, make sure each page has a different title tag. It's not going to do you any good to have 10 different pages, all of which say Los Angeles criminal lawyer on them as the first term. You're going to get one, maybe two pages to rank well for that term. You're not going to get 10. So, have Los Angeles criminal lawyer, do Los Angeles criminal defense attorney, maybe throw in Los Angeles, drug crime lawyer. I mean, you can mix it up a little bit, and ideally have the key terms that are for a particular page in the title tag matching up with the content of the page. Your drug crime one, you should have Los Angeles drug crime lawyer should match up with your Los Angeles drug crime text on your page. So the big things here for the words, again, you got to go study the words, then you come back and you start placing them within the page. And most web development companies are pretty good at doing this. Optimize the title tags for the content of your page and also for the terms that you want to rank well for. And so again, from this standpoint, I tend to go to Google, find out which terms are getting searched on the most. I try to write content somewhat aimed towards those terms, and then I go through and I make sure that I optimize the page for those particular keywords as well.